Do you ever find yourself comparing your life to other people's lives on social media? I shouldn't even ask, because I think it's something that just about everybody does, whether they admit it or not. On some level, it's hard to look at the stuff people post and not, at least on some level, think, I wish I had that in my life. I'm no different than anybody else. I fall into that trap quite frequently, a whole lot more frequently than I'd like to. And lately, over the last maybe 3-4 months, I've been falling into that a lot. Actually, a little bit over the last couple of years even. But I follow a lot of very interesting people. I have a lot of very interesting friends, and I found myself lately looking at the things that my friends post about and some of the stuff that they do and thinking, man, they're so adventurous. They go out and they do all these cool things, and they're always in these interesting places or hanging out with these interesting people or doing these interesting things. And I felt like that was lacking a little bit in my life. Now, some of the people that know me and know how I live would probably disagree, but for myself personally, I didn't have that sense of adventure and excitement in my life that I wanted. So I was thinking a lot about how do I correct that? How do I start going on more adventures? And that was kind of part of what led to this whole project and this whole series of videos and this whole idea of working on becoming the person that I want to be. It was one of the things was that I wanted more adventure in my life. I wanted more excitement. And when I thought about who was the person that I'm trying to be, one of the traits that came up a whole lot was he's an adventurer. You know, the person that I want to be. And it's one of the traits that I love most about the person that I want to be is he's an adventurer and he's spontaneous, and people are always excited when he's around because you know you're going on some kind of cool adventure and you know something exciting is going to happen. And when I was younger, that's what my life was. I was constantly on some kind of adventure, constantly doing some kind of crazy idea or something. And it was a lot of fun, and I miss that about my younger self a lot, because as I got older, I kind of fell into the trap of trying to make money and working for a living and spending all my time thinking about work and a job and the future. And in the process, I lost track of that adventurous spirit. But anyway, yesterday I was, 24 hours ago, I had no idea that I was going to be where I am right now. I had no idea that I was going to be doing what I'm doing right now, and I had no plan to go on any kind of an adventure. But here I am in the middle of a really awesome adventure. I mean, you can see behind me all these mountains. I'm in a pretty cool spot. And 24 hours ago, I didn't expect to be here. 24 hours ago, I was sitting around like I often do on a Saturday, trying to decide what I'm gonna do. And I had some work that needed to be done. I had some errands that I needed to run. I was on my way to the hardware store to run one of those errands, thinking about, like, man, I don't want to go home after this. I don't want to go sit at my desk and write. I don't want to go and work on my business. I mean, I did want to. I wanted to do the work. It's exciting work, but I didn't want to go home and do it. I didn't want to go and be in the same environment as I always am, around the same people that I always am, looking at the same things as I always do. And it occurred to me as I was thinking about that I think one of the secrets to being one of those people that I admire so much when they're out adventuring is to actually go and have adventures when the thought occurs to you. You know, some people might disagree. Some people who know me, that they would tell you that I am kind of spontaneous, that I am pretty adventurous, but my own personal standards, it's just not there. You know, most of the things I do are reasonably well calculated and somewhat thought through, at least somewhat. But I don't often do things spontaneously. So while I'm standing in line at the hardware store there, thinking about all that, it hit me. It was like, you know, if you don't want to go home, go on an adventure. Just go on an adventure. You can do the work tomorrow. It's no big deal. You have lots of time. So I was like, yes, you know what? I'm going to go on an adventure. So I went for a drive up to Drumheller, which I haven't been to in like 10, maybe more years. And I went and I cruised around on these back roads, and I went and saw all this incredible stuff and went to these places that I haven't ever seen before. And it was so much fun. It was so cool to be out there driving down roads that I didn't know where they went, going with no particular destination or reason to be there in mind, just the idea of going on an adventure. And then as I was doing that, I was thinking more, and it's like, man, I don't want to stop. I still had that feeling like I didn't want to go home. So on my way back heading for home, it occurred to me, I was like, you know, all the work that you have to do is just digital work. It's just creative work, it's writing, it's business development, it's easy stuff. You don't actually have to be at home to do that. You don't actually have to be in your office to do that kind of work. In fact, it might be better if you were in a different environment. So I started thinking about it. It's like, where could I go to get it into a different environment? I started thinking, well, maybe I'll go spend Sunday in the coffee shop working, or maybe I'll go rent a desk at a co-working space somewhere for a day and change it up that way. And then it hit me, it's like, no, maybe I'll go on a trip. Maybe I'll be spontaneous. Maybe I'll go on an adventure and do the work somewhere totally different that I haven't been. And so I went and I came and I drove out to Canmore, about an hour west of Calgary, into the mountains, and I got a hotel room for the night, for a couple nights, and I brought all my writing stuff, and it's just been amazing. I've been sitting here, I did some writing this morning, some really great stuff. I woke up in this spectacular valley surrounded by mountains, just having the most wonderful time, and it's just so awesome. And it's occurred to me through this whole project that, you know, if I want to live an interesting life, if I want to have the adventures that I want to have, the only thing stopping me is the fact that I wasn't doing it. You know, the only reason I wasn't having adventures was because I wasn't going on adventures. I would think about these things I wanted to do, then I would shelve them as things I was going to do one day when I had time. And the older I get, the more I realize that a lot of times those ideas that I'm going to do one day when I have time, they don't happen unless I force them to, unless I actually take the time to make them happen. So I'm trying lately to do that more. And when an idea for something that I want to do that interests me and excites me comes up, I'm trying to just do it instead of think about it, instead of put it off till some future time when I can do it, when I have time, when I can afford to, whatever the excuse I come up with not to do it, and just do it. Because everybody needs some adventure in their life. Everybody. Like, humans crave variety and adventure and excitement, and it's one of the things that is so missing in so many people's lives in this modern world, as we focus everything we do on maintaining our homes and feeding our families and going to work, and we get stuck in these routines all the time. And I really think that that's a huge part of the reason so many people are so depressed all the time, is they're craving adventure, they're craving variety, they're craving something different. And that's exactly how I've been feeling for a couple months, and finally I'm not feeling that way anymore. And the only reason I'm not feeling that way anymore is because I've started adding that variety to my life. I've started going on adventures again, I've started doing uncommon things, and I've started taking action towards being the person I want to be, and it feels really good. I mean, just look behind me. Look behind me. This is the most incredible view, and this is only an hour away from my house. Like, it's just unbelievable. And I'm here, and I get to be here for the rest of today. I get to wake up here again tomorrow, and it's just awesome. And it's all the result of having lived the last couple years with a very specific goal and intention, and then lived the last couple weeks with another very specific goal and intention. I'm gonna talk about that one of these days, about living with a goal in mind and an intention in mind, so that you can actually craft the life that you want instead of falling into something that you don't really want. I'm just so lucky, and I'm so happy, and I'm so grateful, and I'm so glad that you're coming along with me on these adventures, and that you're watching these videos. And I hope I can inspire you to go out on an adventure of your own and go do something that's a little out of the ordinary for you. Maybe something that you're not used to doing, something that you wouldn't normally do, because it feels so good. Man, it feels so good. So anyway, I'm gonna get back to my hike, get back to my adventure. Thanks for sticking with me through this whole video. I'm so glad to have you here with me on this journey, and I'll speak to you again very soon.